Is imposter syndrome a self-fulfilling prophecy? My name's Carrie. I'm an executive coach. I focus on burnout prevention and imposter syndrome. And yes, those things are related, which I will talk about in other videos if you don't already know how I relate these things. But today I'm talking about imposter syndrome and how by having it, you might actually be causing yourself to have it. I recently made a TikTok video where I said that you might have imposter syndrome because you don't have enough knowledge and you're thinking, I'm not an expert enough. I don't have the knowledge that I need to have. And so I have all of these doubts and I feel like I'm a fraud because I just don't have all of the knowledge. And so I said, well, maybe it's not about gaining all of the knowledge in order to cure your imposter syndrome, which again, we know this is not a random phenomenon, different video. But maybe the way that we counteract imposter syndrome is not to gain all of the knowledge, because that's a monstrous task, right? And how are we ever going to know if we reach that? But maybe the goal is to become okay with what happens as a result of us not having all of the knowledge. And so I had a person comment on this video. They said, oh my gosh, is that why I don't have imposter syndrome? Because I encourage people to challenge me, to fact check me, to ask me questions, to tell me if I've gotten something wrong. And I said, yeah, because you're not pretending to be something that you're not. You're not pretending to be all knowing about this. You're not pretending to be the person who has all of the knowledge. And oftentimes that's what happens with imposter syndrome. In our attempt to seem knowledgeable, we don't acknowledge that we're not all knowing. And so if we are saying, well, ooh, I feel like an imposter because I don't know all the things, but we're pretending like we do know all of the things. We are pretending like we have all of the answers. We don't ask questions. We don't share our doubts with people. So many of us are afraid to speak up and say, I don't know, right? How many times I hear people say in a meeting, like they're afraid to say, oh, I don't know, but I will get back to you on that. That's a perfectly acceptable thing to do. But people think, oh, I'm supposed to be the expert on this. And so if I go into a meeting and I didn't have time to prepare beforehand, so I can't go into it knowing exactly what people are going to ask me, and I don't know, what happens if they ask me a question that I don't know the answer to. And I say, what exactly? What happens, right? What happens? And so I find, though, that because we have this idea that we need to project ourselves to be the all-knowing expert on everything, and we're afraid to acknowledge that there's information that we just don't know the answer to, that fuels this idea of feeling like an imposter, because we are, in fact, pretending. And that's the whole crux of how we can describe this idea of imposter syndrome, is feeling like a fraud, feeling like somebody's going to find out that we're totally making it all up, that we're just faking things. And if that's what you're doing, then you are fueling that, right? If you're out here faking it till you make it, then you're never going to feel comfortable in what you do know, because you're focusing on what you don't know, and you're focusing on somebody's going to figure out that I don't know things. Well, that's fine. But it's fueling that idea of feeling like a fraud because you're not showing up authentically. So if you find yourself questioning and saying, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, and people are going to figure that out, but if I just continue to fake it, that's only going to fuel this idea. Whereas if you say, I don't know what I'm doing, right? I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay. Nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just making it up as we go along, right? We do things, we see what happens, we learn from that, and we do something different next time, or the same thing next time. But if we own that, that's very different than pretending like it's something different. And so I want to challenge you from now on to own the fact that you don't know everything, and be okay with not knowing everything. Be okay with what happens if you don't know everything, right? Get used to saying, I don't know, and see what kind of shift and impact that can have on this feeling like a fraud. If you're able to show up more authentically and accepting of what you don't know. If you like this message, hit that subscribe button and follow for more.